Welcome back to the Nothing to Something podcast. This is the podcast that's been put together as a platform to share real stories from real people, showcasing their journeys towards success and all the struggles involved along the way. Now, before we move forward, please click subscribe on whichever platform you're listening on. This will provide you with all the top draw content going forward and keep me pushing to produce it. Now, in this episode, we welcome a true master of high performance, and that's coming from me. This is a man who is a performance coach to many high performers, including athletes, high earners, and young professionals, amongst others. Please welcome to the podcast, Shaun Hope of Hope Performance. Shaun, welcome to the podcast.
Mark, thanks for having me.
No, I'm really, I say this all the time, mate, but I'm really looking forward to this because I absolutely love what you do. I love it so much so that I do a little bit myself. The coaching, the mentoring, that side of life has been a passion of mine for a long, long time. Kind of going through the discovery of myself and what I want to do and where my passion and purpose lies. It's kind of all centered and come back to the discovery, the empowerment and the development of people. So I'm very, very intrigued to see your thought process. I know what you're doing is very similar to what I do. However, you are very highly regarded amongst very successful circles, high performers. So
Thank you.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this. Before we get into it, mate, do you want to just talk through what it is you do, who you are, and yeah, let's go.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. I really do genuinely value you getting me on this podcast. I've been listening to the other episodes. A few people on there who I know, that brought me onto it, and I think I've listened to every one now.
Nice one.
So I'm excited to be on board. In terms of what I'm here for, I think you and I know each other through. I always say I wear three sort of work hats, and you and I know each other through my whole performance coaching, and I'll come on to how that came around in a little bit. But I also wear two other hats. So one of those is I'm a chairman of a charity. It's turned into quite a large charity. When I first started, it was quite small, but it's really gathering momentum. And I'm also an assistant principal at a college, a further education college. So I like to keep myself sort of busy. But back to that sort of commonality, the same thing lies, the sort of golden thread through all of those is I just like to help people. Just want to develop people and see people become the best version of themselves, really. So, but like I said, I'm here today because of the whole performance coaching. That's how you and I got to know each other. And that started around about 3.5 years ago. And it was just helping people out helping friends out, really, and seeing how I could help them improve. And they were coming to me for advice, see what I could do to help them around. And then one of my friends who I was helping said, "You should get paid for this." I said, "Come and work with my business, come and support my staff." And it's just sort of snowballed from there to a point now, as you say, I work with well, all of them are truly high performers, but in very different fields. But that's in the world of business, finance, education, or in some cases in sport with some athletes that I'm very fortunate to work with.
Nice one. Sounds great. So I think coming out the back of this, I'm expecting some penny drops, some tips and tricks people can take away and sprinkle into their own journeys. Let's start from the very beginning here, Shaun. So how did it all start for you? Talk us a little bit through your childhood, upbringing, education, and journey to current day.
Yeah, brilliant, happy childhood. Lovely family, lovely opportunities. Probably look back now and there's some sort of key things that happened during there that have shaped me. You never know, do you, at the time, but when you start doing this work like you and I do, you start to reflect back on why you think like you do, why you took the opportunities you have. So one of those key things was I was around about 7 or 8, and my dad decided to change his job, which he'd been doing. The only thing I knew he was doing as a pipe fitter, to become a business owner. He'd put his life savings into taking on a bakery business. So how do you go from being a pipe fitter into a bakery business? But he had this ambition that he wanted to be a business owner. He did really well with it. And he scaled that up from a very small bakery business into having multiple shops and a wholesalers and so on. And I was around that from, like say, being 7, 8 years old, seeing, I'll come back to this, I'm sure, later on in our conversation, but seeing real, what is real hard work.
Mm.
You know, we think we work hard, go and be a baker when you're up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then working 12, 13, 14 hour days. So I got that really sort of shaped my early childhood, but still managed, despite all his lots of his hard work, a fantastic childhood, lots of brilliant opportunities. But the other sort of thing that shaped I guess, my childhood was football. I played a lot of football. Was signed by a professional club at the age of 12. Went up to Sunderland, played for them up until I was 16. Faced my first bit of serious rejection and was released at the age of 16. And then elation when 3 months later I was signed by Coventry City. So I'd gone from being released from a championship club to then being signed by a Premier League club. Coventry were in the Premier League at the time. Shows how old I am. Um, and then spent 3 wonderful years down in Coventry, plying my trade, trying to be a footballer. And when you sort of combine those things, they give you real, they're not excitement, I guess, but also brilliant opportunities that stand me in good stead now. So that was sort of childhood. Education followed, but I was a relatively good kid at school. Not really interested in it that much, but good. Really interested in PE, probably nothing else. But for education, there's a couple of key points as well. I got good grades from school, and then had the opportunity to almost do a series of different things when I went to Coventry City. So you back in those days of YT, trainee did 1 day a week at college. My parents wanted for 2 years. My parents wanted me to do a bit more, so I did it for the full 3 years I was there, and I did some evening and weekend work, which meant I graduated. Well, left college with a BTEC extended diploma in sport. So I had enough then.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time to go to university.
Mm.
So all of these little things that are happening that you don't really know, someone sort of pushing in the right direction, really shaped what is my future career.
I'm with you. Did you end up going to uni, or did the football take over by then?
So football had taken over. I didn't even know really what uni was at that point. When you're in that environment, it's just football, football, football every day. College was a bit of a release, but it was just football. And then I was released by Coventry in the summer, really late on. They were, we've got no money, we can't extend you another year. I'd been a young pro for 2 years. I was released at 19. Came back to Hartlepool, back to the bakery business, working in there. My girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, applied to university for me. She's looked at my quals and said, you know, you can go. And they put a really late application in, I think in the August, and I started in the September. And then went off to
Nice.
university, studied sports science for 3 years, and that gave me then the next sort of ticket to get into. So these little junctions in your life,
Yeah.
don't they, sort of
Yeah.
shape what
You've
you
been
do.
around the block there a little bit, haven't you? You've done the football thing and then still managed to go to uni afterwards. No,
Yeah,
impressive.
that was a great experience.
Yeah.
Great experience, but very different to what I've been used to as a
Mm.
professional athlete.
The questions are popping into my mind already, Sean. So I want to ask about the bakery business and the fact that you talked about the hard work and the work ethic there. Something that resonates massively with myself, coming from very humble beginnings myself. Mum and dad worked unbelievably hard. Dad's worked at night for years on end. Mum worked days, didn't really see each other, passed like ships in the night. Dad came in, took over, took us to school while Mum went to work, and then the same thing after school. I don't think I realised at the time quite what was going on until I've looked back now and realised that probably subconsciously it's put that work ethic into us, me and my siblings, and made us realise that we've got to go and get after it, and the value behind hard work. Did you realise what was going on at the bakery? I know you alluded to the fact there that it's real graft and real hard work compared to what we do now. Did you realise that at the time, or was that just a bit of an interesting job to you?
Not at the time, that young
Mm,
childhood, that 8, 9, 10, and so on. I remember there were a few things that where the penny started to drop. So when I was in the Sunderland Academy,
mm,
I remember I used to get really anxious, still do now, about being late for anything. And my dad was adamant he was going to take me to training. We used to train on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, play the games on a Sunday. And my dad was adamant he was going to take me every time. But that was really, really tough for him. So say we started at 7 o'clock in Sunderland. He was getting home at 6:30 and we live half an hour away. So it was tight. It was really, really tight all the time. And I remember I resented him a little bit at the time for us putting us at risk of being late. But then people would say things about, God, your dad works a lot of hours, doesn't he? He puts the graft in, things like this, they would say. And then the penny started to drop. And then I remember when I went to Coventry, obviously independence, then no one else around you. And I realised I had a work ethic that others didn't. I was doing a lot more than anyone else. Sadly for me, and that was if you want to talk about that period, it wasn't on the right things.
Right.
I was too keen to try and be good around the club. I wasn't selfish enough necessarily to be working on myself. So yeah, work ethic was around, and it definitely, like you, Mark, it shaped me.
Mm.
But it wasn't clear at the time. But lots of things aren't.
Mm.
You get to them, don't you, later on? And
Yeah.
it's that famous thing: is if I knew now what I knew, sorry, if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah, I'm
it'd be
with you.
very different.
I'm with you. Why
And
do you
there
think
was
the effort was channeled in the wrong direction? Do you think it's just due to the immaturity at the time and the lack of knowledge to know where to direct the level of effort that was going in?
probably the lack of knowledge.
Mm.
I wasn't I wasn't clear about what it needed to be that truly elite level. You know, when you've come through childhood and you've been one of the best in your team all the time. I should have said I got released by Sunderland. I was captain of the under 16s, played every game for the under 17s that season. Played, I think, a dozen games for the under 19s. I played a reserve game and then still got released. So I was come as a bit of a shock.
Mm.
I was doing well. So then when you go to that environment, Coventry City had been to the final of the Youth Cup 2 years running, or one of those years was when I got there. It was a very elite team, very, very elite. So I just hadn't moved that level,
Mm.
and I wasn't working on the right things, and became a little bit too late.
Yeah.
So the penny dropped towards the last 6 to 8 months,
Mm.
but penny had dropped a bit too late.
And how did you find the adjustment after football, Sean? I know that's a very difficult thing. It's probably getting a little bit more press now than it used to. Something I talked about, another recent guest who we both know in Aaron Burns, talked about a similar thing. How did you find that adjustment afterwards? Was it difficult to come to terms with?
Not not straight away because you still think you're going to. So I was released that summer and went on trial at 3 clubs, and each of those were like really showing interest. So then you think, oh, it's not going to last long. I'm just going to play at a lower level. Then that didn't come off. But one of them said to me, go and play at X club and we'll come and watch you. So I went to play for them. Again, you think, oh, well, that's it. But then I got a bit sick because I was in and out playing games here and there, not getting full game time. And I was used to playing every week. So then I dropped another level, probably playing in the maybe seventh tier at the time or something like that, and playing really well. But a 19-year-old playing really well. Then I was made captain. 20-year-old, 19, 20-year-old, made captain, and then had clubs come to watch me every week. Still I'm in my first year at uni then, playing well. And I still, in my head, thought, oh, this could happen. It wasn't really until probably last year at uni where I thought, you're never going to be a footballer. Really thought about it. I never said it to anyone, but never really thought about it. So that helped in a way,
Mm.
looking back. So it was a slow process to develop. So it was never really a big bang.
Mm. And then by that stage, I suppose you had something else going on in the university development, and yeah, so there's always something to
Yes.
direct you, channel your energy towards.
Yeah, and at that time I was getting paid good money to play locally, or sort of semi-professionally. So I was on more money then than I was as a young pro. I was getting paid to play football. I was doing a lot of coaching, so sports coaching. I was getting paid good money to do that. Um, Developed quite a skill for that at a young age. So then I had lots of hours I could pick up. And then was doing other little bits and bobs here and there to try and earn money, working for my dad and the likes. So I was up. In that year, we had a lot of holidays, me and my girlfriend, so
Doing
it was
reasonably
good.
well. Yeah, no, good to hear.
Yeah,
Good to hear. Good to hear. And we talked a little bit about there. You just mentioned there about the coaching, the sports coaching you were doing. Is coaching always been a thing? Have you always been someone who's leaned towards supporting others?
yeah, yeah. It has. You've got there quite early, but yeah, that's the why. I think that's the bit that I'm not too sure where it comes from, but I've always been captains of teams. I've always led and done things, whether that's leading warm ups or training sessions or whatever, and then got into sports coaching. So when I was at Coventry, it was voluntary, didn't need to do it, but I would once a week go to the School of Excellence and deliver training sessions just off my own back. I was interested in that. And then coaching become something I could get paid for. Then started to do that quite a lot. That was going to be where I was going to take it. I was thinking about starting my own business then. There's the entrepreneurial bit. Um, so it's always been around.
Mm,
It just probably hasn't been refined.
right, I'm with you. I'm with you. And we are coaching now. We've obviously got a successful coaching business going on. Um, you've just mentioned at the start of the podcast there that you've still got other ventures on the go. You've got the charity. You're still working. You're still at college. How's that going? And do you see yourself ever going full time coaching, or are you happy with where you are and juggling the different facets?
Yeah, very, very happy with where I am, spinning those three plates, wearing those three hats, whatever you want to call it right now. I can't see in the short term that changing. I've got so many ambitions with each of those that I can't say that I would focus just entirely on one at the minute. And it's working. It's manageable. It's enjoyable. It's rewarding. So I think that for the foreseeable, that's how it will stay. But I'll never say never. I've learned that. So if an opportunity arises, I
Yeah.
might need to move quickly. But I've got options now
No,
because of that.
that's amazing. It really is. I see so many people having been in a coaching position for a number of years now myself, through employment as well as self-employed. Working in the leisure industry as a gym manager or an area manager within a gym um, business. I see a hell of a lot of people who are varying ages who don't know what the passion is, don't know what the purpose is, don't know where they want to go. So for you to sit there and you found three things that you're really enjoying, you're passionate about, and you see a future and different goals in the future for all three of those. Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Thank you very
You're
much.
doing something
I
right.
there's obviously you can read books that'll say bend the boats, go all in on one thing, and I get that. I get that because some people are really unhappy in what they're doing, and to make that jump is necessary. It's not like that for me. I said to you at the start, there's that golden thread that goes through them all. I work in a world where someone physically benefits from that work and for a long, long time. So I'm not selling something that has no benefit. It's got a genuine benefit on every level. So I love all of that work. It's hard. It would be hard to pull away from any of it.
Mm.
I'm not saying that's right for everyone. Some people might listen to this and they might be really unhappy in their role, and it might be going to jump to something else. But I'm in a fortunate position. I love all three of mine.
No, smashed it. Nice one. Right, let's talk a little bit about the brand. So, the performance coaching on Hope Perform. Talk us about exactly what it is, who it's for, who will benefit.
Yeah,
Yeah, talk us through the brand.
yeah. Simply my name and then performance coaching, isn't it? So in terms of the brand, it wasn't really that inventive. You might find that's not my forte, but it's one of those that does what it says in it on the tin. Really, it's I deliver performance coaching. But what is performance coaching is often the question that I get asked. Why haven't I put business mentor or I don't know mindset coach? That these are sort of common things that I mentioned because again for a common thread that runs from I will improve people's performance, whatever their background, when they come to work with me. And that's where the commonality is. So that sometimes performance can be about the mindset. Other times it might be around organizational skills. It might be around time management, prioritization. It could be business support, ideas, creativity, whatever. But it's a combination of all of these experiences I've got together. So that's what it is, and I deliver a suite of different sort of offers, if you like. There's the one-to-one coaching, there's group sessions. You came along, Mark, the other week when we delivered sort of a seminar effect there. This whole day training. So there's a wide variety of things that can be done, all under that one banner.
Oh, nice one. And who do you think can benefit, mate? I know anybody can benefit, so I'm putting out there for you to explain. As a matter of fact, can you talk us through a little bit? If somebody were to come from you off the cuff, who is happy or unhappy in the current role, wants to perform higher as an individual, potentially reach the next level, how would the feeling out process go? How would you start out
Yeah,
as taking on someone new?
great question. Just happened. So from that event, I've started to pick up several new clients now who I haven't worked with. So that's been an interesting exploration, if you like, for me, because you asked the question, well, you made the point, could anyone benefit? I've had a line of thought for a while. Do you need to be a bit niche? You know, do you need to be performance coaching in a certain sector? Because then it's that expert sort of feel, isn't it? I know that sector well enough, so therefore I can develop it. But now I've trialed and worked with people across multiple different sectors. How that approach works is always the same. It's a discussion to see if we are compatible, first of all. I guess the three roles for me means I don't need to do any coaching. I do it because I want to do it. So the benefit there is that it becomes just a discussion.
Mm.
Can we both work together? And we usually have an introductory conversation, which is let's find out what you're interested in. Why did you come to me? I don't work with people who are just, I need to make more money. I need to do this. You know, I need to understand what's behind them. Always starts, whether they realise it or not, with a bit of performance profiling. So me understanding what they think they need, where they think they're currently at with that.
Hmm.
Always highlighting key strengths first of all, because we're very quick to, if somebody approaches you in any of your lines of work, Matt, they'll come and talk to you straight away about all the things they need to do to improve. The danger with that is it's a very negative place to be in. So I always try and start the conversation with what are your key strengths and how we're going to better utilise those. So in that first introductory call with me, I'll find out what your key strengths are. We'll then say how we're going to maximise those. I often use the analogy because we're not Lionel Messi using his right foot every game. You know, he's a world class with his left. He's going to use his left all the time. So why wouldn't you use your strengths all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a bit of that chat. Writing copious notes at the same time, and then looking for where the leverage points are. Once we've got those, we dive in and start coaching on them.
Start with the positives. I love that. Flipped it on its head. Oh, that's good. That's good. Um, we've known each other a little bit now through various contacts. As I mentioned earlier on, you coach some high performers, young professionals, athletes, various people across varying sectors, as we've talked about earlier on. How does that come about? I know these are high performers, high earners. One from the outside looking at these individuals we're talking about would think that these guys are flying.
Yeah.
How does that come about? How did they end up with you, and sort of how did that come
Yeah.
around?
Usually through referral.
Yeah.
You don't go and approach these people and sell your services. The trust with those people is a big thing. And they get as I found, lots of approaches, external approaches. So it's often through a referral. It's then through building a relationship. So again, probably because I'm coming from a place where I don't need it. There's no desperation from me. We just have a good conversation and see if we can get on.
Mm.
Then you build that relationship, and then it's like anything. You've got to prove evidence that it works. So I've got to find something quite quick, a leverage point that'll make them come back. But that's like any of us in life, isn't it? You need a small win quite quickly. And then you think, oh, I could do this. And then you keep coming back and keep coming back. So that's often my approach. Well, can I get in quickly and find something I can coach quite quickly? They'll see a response. They're then back for more. And then the pressure mounts to make sure you keep giving them all of that.
No, I'm sure you'll find a way, mate. From the few interactions we've had, it's quite clear that you are as humble as you are high performing. That's something that comes across.
Thank you.
I think it's a huge benefit. The fact that you've just mentioned there a couple of times, you don't need it. You don't have to do it. It's a choice. I know a number of coaches, not necessarily performance coaches, whether it be within the leisure industry where I've worked for a very long, long time, when people are driving sales and they need it and they need to close that sale and get that income, it's not quite the same. And I think the fact that you don't need it and it's a choice and it's a passion for you really comes across. So congratulations with what you're doing there, mate.
Can I just jump in there, Mark, and
Yeah.
just sort of emphasise that point a little bit, because I think we can get caught up in need being monetary. You know, we've been there and had, I need the money in the bank to pay the bills, so therefore I think I need this activity. But it's counterproductive. You spend double the amount of time chasing those people, spend double the amount of time prepping because they're never happy with something you've offered, and you spend double the amount of time with worry. So the cost per hour is nothing. You're better going for the things that you really want and that work for you. Then if you it's the value is money that you put on it. Your value is even greater anyway, because the amount of effort I've put in for the amount of return I get
Mm,
is much, much greater
mm,
than if I'm chasing these people where I know there's going to be challenges throughout the way. So I would always stress to people, it sounds easy for me sitting here in a fortunate position. I would always stress to people, go for the right things rather than those that you think. If you think you need it, it's probably the wrong thing.
nice. I like that. I like that. You got me thinking on the call there. If someone were to come to you and was searching out the coaching service or the performance services, but made it clear, Shaun, help me. I want to earn loads of money. What's your response? Would you still take them on board, or would you try to delve a little bit deeper and find a why behind it?
Oh, delve deeper. I wouldn't. Look, we all want to make money. I'll say, so do I. It's what for? What for? What for? And I dig and dig and dig and dig. You know, some of the clients I work with, they're making lots of money. But those who make just make lots of money, and that's all they're interested in, usually last a year or two, and then they lose the drive because the bank balance looks great, but they lose the drive. It's so you've got to find what's behind that. What are you doing it for? What's the money for? What you buying that house for? What do you want that car for? That type of scenario. So I dig deeper. If I can't find that, then we might say, and I've had several of these. We'll maybe do two, possibly three sessions. I'll say, I think we're about done. Yeah, I think we're about done. I can give you some advice there. Fantastic, but I think we've probably got to our level now.
Fair play. Fair play. Because a lot of people wouldn't, let's be honest. A lot of people
Yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah.
They'd continue to get the sessions and take the finance themselves in turn. But that little snippet there carries us nicely into my next question. I asked the reason behind the why behind the money, as we just talked about a driver there. What's your why? And I ask this question every time we jump on the podcast because, number one, as I know this is a trademark of yours, success leaves clues. But number two, that's been a huge thing for me coming up, coming from where I've come from and the humble beginnings and coming through the struggles. There's been a hell of a lot of times where I've not felt up to it mentally, physically, been drained. I've had 3 jobs at times, working 80 plus hours a week. We've been through it all, and there's always been that driver that's pushed me through. That for me has been family, has been providing, has been dependence, has been my kids when they came into my life. What's your why? What keeps you pushing forward and so hungry in all 3 of these ventures that you've got going on?
You know, so such a simple question, isn't it? But it makes you really, really makes you think. And I know why I choose those 3 jobs, those 3 lines of work, because the charity work's certainly not a job. It's because it's helping people. But why do I love to help people is a lot more difficult to explain. It's probably because of my childhood experiences, you know, the opportunities I got, the things I seen, the influences I had around me. So it's probably that. But if I'm being honest as well, it's probably because that's where I found success. And then you get on that drip feed of constant positive feedback, don't you? So I was good at something, and then I thought, I'm good at this. I'm going to do it more. So when I went in to deliver a coaching session, and the kids loved it, and the guy who owned the company said, "You're brilliant at this. I want to go back next week, and then next week, and next week." So that sort of rolled and evolved. So that's probably led me to where I'm at as well. So why I do it is a lot more difficult to explain. But why I push myself now to be the best I could possibly be, I think it's a little bit of a why not. Like,
Mm,
why not do it? Why would I want? My wife says to me all the time, do you never relax? I think, well, why? Like, I get a bit bored sitting around doing nothing. So if I've got an option, why wouldn't I do it? Why wouldn't I do it? And why not be positive? Why not be better? Because the alternative to me doesn't seem that appealing.
mm,
Because probably changed throughout time. But why I did it? At times, desperation. But I'd missed out when the transition from teenage life into and university into sort of the work life. We had our kids quite young. So we had Gracie when we were 22, and because of my extra year of football, I was in my last year of uni when we had when we got pregnant with Gracie. We had nothing, really,
mm,
very very little. So all the extra work was to provide.
mm,
Is that now a little terrace house?
mm.
But it's changed across time because it's not money now, I'm comfortable now. It's other things. So long-winded way around it, but I think it's changed across time. But what's been constant is the need and want to really help people.
Love that. Love that. Selfless. Really, really
Thank
selfless.
you.
Um, you talked there a little bit about when your missus was pregnant and when the family was growing and the struggles at the time. We didn't really have much. Going through them struggles at times in life, do you think they've contributed towards the successful you personally become in the present day?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think of all of them, released by Sunderland, definitely did. Before being released by Coventry, I had torn my Achilles and was in a plaster for 6 months, living down in. They only gave me 2 weeks back home in Hartlepool, so I was living down in Coventry for the rest of the time, and it was a depressing time. It was just literally me. I couldn't even go in the treating room because I was in cast. So it was literally I was in the dorms at the time, but from the bedroom to the gym, that was literally all I could do. So if I look back at that time, that sort of built my resilience up, then released by Coventry, built my resilience up. So I always say I'm a life of that's been punctuated by failure,
Mm,
like lots of little
yeah,
failures along the way. Yeah, absolutely shapes you, but also gives you the evidence you can.
strength from those
If I'd said
struggles.
that, yeah, if somebody had said to me at that time, "Oh, you're going to be doing this now," I'd have said, "Not a chance." But then when you look back, you sort of get these tipping points, don't you? You think they're great experiences for me, and I am where I am now. I've got little sayings that, well, you've met me, you know a few of them, but I say to my girls all the time, the best things in life happen on the other side of nerves. So if you're in a period where it feels like you feel anxious, you feel nervous about it, highly likely that if you push through that, you're going to find the best things in life. So that's another one of those. When you face those difficult times, push through,
I
get
like that.
through those.
I like that for sure. Right, let's delve a little bit into some takeaways for the listeners. I know we've got
Okay.
some listeners, new listeners every time now, but some consistent listeners as well who reach out and contribute and ask questions and take a lot away from the episodes that we put together so far. With yourself being a performance coach, what are you? So we say three non-negotiables for fulfilling potential. Um, yeah, go on, mate.
Okay.
I'll leave it to you.
Fantastic. Okay. I think I've got to say at the start, it's the term non-negotiable for me. I can't enforce anything on anyone. I can't make it non-negotiable because if I do, the likelihood is that they're not going to do it. So I'll tell you what mine are for me, and I would encourage this in others. But more so, I'd encourage them to find their own because that's the key. If you believe in them, you're going to make them happen. But for me, we've touched on it earlier. Put the work in. Really, you've got to put the work in. It's the foundation of anything, and it doesn't just mean work hard, but I use the term take action. Put the work in. Do it before, if you're thinking about it, do it, do it. Go put the work in and then decide afterwards whether it's for you. Don't sit there waiting for it all to manifest in your head before all the ducks line up and everything's absolutely perfect. Go and put the work in. And then when you're going to do it, make sure that's not putting the work in isn't ever an excuse for your failing. So I'm big on that. I'm really, really big on that because I often feel people talk a lot. This living, be careful how far I go with this, but live in this Instagrammable world where you think you only see the snippets of people, but you don't realise the absolute graft that's gone
Mm.
in behind it. So put the work in. Really, really, that's a non-negotiable for me. Turn up every day. Turn up and put the work in and take the action that's needed. Important to me in my life, and I'll explain why. But be kind. Be really kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And I don't mean be soft. And for a long part of my life, certainly my working career, I thought kindness equaled softness. I'd watched previous loads of them in football, but some of them in the world of work as well. I saw leaders who were used the term like ruthless and strong, but all were unkind. And I thought that was the way I wanted to be. And I remember I wanted to check out at maybe about 7, 8 years ago, thinking, if that's what it needs to be to get to the top, I don't want to do that. But then I've found other examples of brilliant leaders who are kind. Now, what I mean by kindness isn't softness. Mark, if there's something I've got to give you feedback on and I don't, I'm being really unkind to you. Because if I don't give you that feedback, you might not improve. You might not be successful in what you do. You might not get the income that you want. Your kids might not get the benefits that
Mm.
they deserve or the experiences that might shape their life just because I've been so unkind not to give you feedback. So I'm certainly not soft. I don't shy away from anything, but do it with kindness. I don't ever make feedback as an example. I never make it about the person, make it about the act. And I do it in a way where I strip the emotion out, honest, straight, and with kindness. So I'm very, very big on that. Be kind, and it's a little bit smile at people as you see them on the street. Say good mornings, embrace people as you welcome them. That's just a nice way to be, isn't it?
Yeah,
So that's
needed.
a non-negotiable number two. Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I guess it'd be wrong of me if I didn't say the third one is you are always learning. Always. If I work in education, I should be saying that, but not always educating, but always learning. So let me separate the two. Education is often a formal process we go through. Learning's all day, every day. I'm learning now from this. I'll get feedback from this. Learn all the time. Why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And in the world we're in now, you've said it already, but I use the term success leaves clues. Go find them. Everybody's giving you them. Get your YouTube, get the watch list sorted on YouTube, and you've got the world's best in anything you do. They're available there. Podcasts, books, audio books. So always be learning. Do it every single day. So they're my three. So put the work in, be kind, and always learning. I'd love other people to follow those, but I'm sure they've got their own as well.
Love him.
Well, I know
Love
they do.
him.
They've told you.
No, I love them. Honestly, it's, in my opinion, totally agree. There are things that everybody should be living by. Certainly are things that everybody should be living by. Just to touch on the last one there as well, we live in an information age. I'd probably say each podcast, it's absolutely ludicrous that people only use the phone to text, scroll nonsense on social media rather than absorbing content that's going to feed them and empower them and push them towards the goals in the future. So, yeah, we're aligned in a lot of that stuff. No, love that. Thank
Should
you
we
very
give your
much.
listeners a little hint and tip there then that they could? So I often find I come across people who say to me, "How do you read so many books or listen to so many audiobooks or podcasts or consume so much information?" I just habit stack. So there'll be something you'll do in your day that can be stacked with another habit because it's that easy now. So and it's a very simple one. If you're in the car at all, just program your phone in your car to play your audio book every time you jump in the car. There's a simple one. You walk your dog, pop your headphones in you'll wear the same coat. You'll pick the leader from the same place. Just buy some cheap headphones that you leave there. That mean you've got earphones in as you're walking around with your dog and listen to something else. So just habit stack, find something you're currently doing and stack on top of it a bit of learning. And before you know it, that cumulative effect is I've gone through books, I've gone through, and you know you're getting there when you start repeating some of it back to people and
Yeah.
starting to make an impact.
No, mega, mega. And easy. So easy. If people can implement it,
So
yeah.
easy.
So easy. No, thanks for that, Shaun. Brilliant. And without getting too deep on you now, Shaun, are you happy?
Yeah, extremely happy. Extremely happy. Happiest I've ever been. Yeah, just love life.
Mega.
Absolutely love life.
So wholesome, mate. That's the exact response I wanted. Um,
Yeah.
so everything's going well, yeah. All different facets. It's I know
No. To be honest, Mark, there are huge challenges and all in everything I do, um, but it doesn't mean I'm not happy. I've come to terms with that. So I used to chase things. I used to chase the money. I used to chase the car, the holiday. I used to think that was winning in life, but now I know it's not. I know it's enjoying everything that I've got. That doesn't mean resting. It's enjoying everything while still pushing, but also enjoying the challenge, understanding that just having the experience is a great opportunity. But I've got loads of challenges. Just briefly, the charity that I'm so fortunate to chair, we, we had our annual ball on Saturday, raised 120,000 for
wow.
for our charity. Huge event, and it's brilliant to sit there and go, "What a success! What a fantastic event!" What's in preparing for that? We had in the small area I live in, we had an awful trend of male suicides last year, and our charity stepped in to provide lots of funding and lots of support for that. Well, clearly, I'm doing the charity work, which makes me happy, but I'm not happy I'm doing it for that.
Mm,
It makes me really sad.
mm.
But what can I control? I can control our influence and what we can do. We've had others, and we're paying far too. We spend so much of our charity investment into food banks. I shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be doing that. So that makes me sad. But I've learned to be. What can I control? I can control my reaction. My reaction is I'm really happy as a result, because everything I can control is going well.
Control of the controllables, mate. That's mega. And the fact that you've just
It
said that
is.
everything's not going swimmingly, well, that doesn't mean you're not happy. That's just I've had a penny drop there because I can
Yeah.
be. It's taken me a long time. I used to be a little bit more hot tempered, a little bit more emotional, more in control nowadays. But still, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Things don't always go your way, and it's easy to get caught up in the negative emotions or the negative people around you or things that happen on a day to day. So that's refreshing. That's really refreshing.
You just not without jumping into a coaching session, but I always talk about coaching being an A and an R, awareness and responsibility. So you've got that awareness there now. You're talking about what I used to be like and what I'm like now. So that's an awareness. The responsibilities sometimes more, well, probably equally as difficult, but lots of people don't have that awareness. So we need to show them that. But the responsibility is what can I do about it? Then do it. So back to one of my non-negotiables. Do the work, take action.
Mm,
So for you, I know that now. So what am I going to do about it? I'm going to change because I know it, and you obviously are, but some people don't.
mm,
So try and turn the mirror on themselves and say, all right, that's fantastic, so what are you going to do about it now? What we're going to do? What we're going to, because you only control your reaction. You can't control what other people do. Control your reaction. But yeah, those type of things have really sort of helped me professionally, but also helped me personally. Just enjoy what I'm doing all the time.
lovely.
Is that deep enough?
No, that's mate, great, and it has turned into a bit of a coaching session there. I'm like that, taking notes. I'll be implementing those into my own journey. No, that's mint, Sean. Just before we move on to the questions that come along each episode, because success leaves clues, one of your mantras.
Yeah.
Just talk us through your charity. That's my last point. So we touched on it a little bit there. A couple of bits you've contributed towards. What's the actual charity itself, and what was it started through?
So the charity, if you can bear me the time, I think it's a good story. The charity was founded by a friend of mine when she won, her and her husband won the Euro Millions, they won big on the Euro Millions. And I'm saying a friend of mine, we hadn't spoken for 3 years, and she became a friend when, through, I'm always doing things over and above what guess I'm supposed to be doing. But when I was at the college, I started doing some work, sports development work. Then that led out to go and work with lots of different clubs in our town, supporting them to develop themselves. And then got to meet this lady, Frances is her name, and got to meet this lady. Then she wanted to become a teacher. So I said, yeah, of course. Again, going over and above, I'll mentor you. You can come to my classes, I'll come to yours. So I supported her for that. She was really grateful for that. Become friends as a result. Then she went and won the lottery, and I remember seeing her on BBC News, and my phone's ringing, and it's my mum saying, "Oh, you've seen that lady's on BBC News, you know her." And then I'm in the car, and her name comes through, and she was phoning me, and she just said, "I've probably just seen me. I've just been on BBC News. I've won the lottery. I want to start the charity, and can't think of anyone better than you to run it for me." So that was humbling, fantastic.
Mm.
So we started in 2019 with a charity, just the four, like there's four founding members, with a very kind donation from them. And since then, it's grown to, I think we've got 11 trustees, or 10 or 11 trustees. We've got staff who work for us now. We've got another sort of community company as a result, and specifically focused on sport. We've just delivered our second annual fundraising event. And the aim is very similar to what you've probably heard through my wides, to improve the lives and life chances of people in our local area. And we do all sorts of things. So you've heard about the food bank, the suicide prevention. We've supported athletes to go and compete on the world stage. We've developed community programs. We've bought and redeveloped buildings and invested. So we've done a whole host of different things. So it's been one of the most fascinating experiences for me. The reason I tell you the story about how we started, because it's back to the be kind bit for the non-negotiables. So when this came around, I remember the girls were a little bit younger then, and they were saying, why you, Dad? Why you? So when someone needed me, I was kind. And you never know when that kindness might come back to pay you back. It might never come back, but you've still done a good thing. But be kind, and always be kind. Now, we say it in the house, say, it's nice to be nice. And you do those things, and it comes back to benefit you. And this is certainly one of those. On Indulge me a second, Mark, but on Saturday I shared a stage with John Barnes. Wow, he was our
Really?
guest, and I shared a stage with him, and I wouldn't have got that chance, would I? Would never have got a chance like that. But a bit of kindness has got you there.
Oh, the world works in mysterious ways. That's incredible. Incredible, mate, honestly.
Certainly,
No,
certainly
mega.
does. Certainly
Mega.
does.
Okay, okay. Right. So let's drop on to episode's questions for the matter of success leaving clues.
Yeah,
First one is talk us through your morning routine. The reason why I say this, because we do get a bit of variation across the board, but for the most part, there is some sort of routine in place between high performers. What does your morning look like?
pretty similar. I think I need to explain something first, just if I can, before we dive into the morning routine. I probably should have explained a little bit earlier, but I talk about my life in three buckets, not the charity, the college and the coaching. I talk it as health, wealth, and relationships. And my morning routine then is very similar, but usually around those three things or one of those. So I talk about my health, wealth, and relationships. Talk about like being buckets. So they need to be, ideally, they're all right full to the brim, but sometimes one of them's overflowing and others are a bit sparse. So, as an example, there, my health might be, I like to run, I like to exercise. So, my health might be, but me going out at 5:30 every morning might be terrible for my relationship if I did it for 100 days non-stop. So occasionally I might need to stay in bed for a little bit longer. Might need to make the breakfast and so on. So my morning routine starts early. It starts usually around about 5:30 ish. With a I'm up, and then when I'm up, and I'm ideally downstairs and trainers on out and run or exercise or walk or something on a morning. Do that little bit, gets the mind going, gets me freewheeling. Come in, make the kettle goes on, one for me, one for the wife, and then I usually sit and journal. So journaling's been a big part of my development over the last, certainly over the last 5 years, maybe slightly longer. That just gets me the chance to shape the day,
Hmm.
put some intention. So I think I might have talked about at the event you came along, but start your day with intention. Be clear about what you intend to do that day, and you're more likely to achieve it. So that's journaling, and then just a bit of quiet time. So usually then nothing. I would love to say that I am the Buddha of sort of all of these type of Zen meditation. I'm not. I just have a little bit of quiet time of 5 to 10 minutes of nothing.
Yeah.
The birds tweeting if that's out. Just see what comes through the mind at that point. Then I work. I like to, and I used to battle with this, but I like to do one or two things that mean I've started the day. It's probably a little bit of the competitive edge in me, but it's then. I'm not even at 6:30 yet, and I think I've got ahead of anyone else. And I think I was a bit nervous of saying that for years, but if I've wrote that thing, sent that, done that tweet, done that Instagram post, or whatever, or prepped my lesson, my meeting, or whatever, I think they're still in bed, and I'm ahead of them. So I've done that little bit more. So I always try and get one or two things. I've let you into a secret there because I haven't told anyone else. I like to get I like to get one or two things in quite quickly, and then you've got that. Mention it anyway. You've got that little bit of success, haven't you? A little pat on the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Strong start.
You're off. You're off. Yeah.
Strong start.
Then it's up, ready. Usually the clothes are all prepped. Things like up, ready, and onto the day. If
Amazing.
I got stress, sometimes I change that around depending on where my buckets are at.
Yeah.
So I won't lie to your listeners. Some mornings, that full hour will be. It was this morning. I was on. I was working from first thing because I wanted a. It's a new term at college. I wanted a fast start, so I did a lot of work for an hour. Didn't get out and exercise, but I know I've got that time, so I've always got that freedom to do
Yeah.
what I want and need to do.
And you're okay with that, Sean? So if the plans were to go for your run and get you running in the morning, get it out of the way, but you ended up doing some work because needs must, and as is life sometimes, doesn't bear on you. You don't get annoyed that you've not got your workout in or things have to move around.
No, it used to. It used to, but then that's where I didn't. No one told me the buckets thing, but I faced challenge in each of them. So I had a period where I put all of my time into work. Some might argue I still do that a lot, but no recognition for my health and struggled. So then you you then realise, well, I need to do something about that. But then I've gone the other way and done too much and then missed out. So I've just learned that if I can balance those buckets at times, then I'm okay. I'll use that time effectively. So yeah, I'm
Nice.
sort of at peace with it
Nice.
because of that.
Right, on to question two. What percentage of the time are you on it? And when I say on it, I mean contributing towards future goals, whether personal or professional.
Yeah, all the time, all the time. Because remember, I'm the three buckets, so I'm either doing health, wealth, or relationships. And the relationships one's really wide and varied. It could be time with the family, it could be time with friends, it could be time with I don't know mentors, coaches, those type of things. So it's I'm always doing one of those things because if I'm, as some might say, like switching off, probably spending good quality time with the family. So that's my relationship
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Contributing.
So all the time. 99% of the time, because occasionally I find myself procrastinating and think, what the hell are you doing? And I don't mean I should be going working, but I mean, why are you doing this?
Mm,
It's of no value to yourself. So occasionally I do that. But I'd like to think, yeah, most of the time I'm working
nice.
towards one of those three buckets.
It's great that you've got that level of self awareness though, because I think a lot of people don't, do they? People scrolling through social media, doing absolutely nothing with the time for 40 minutes, an hour at a time, and it goes absolutely nowhere. So, no, self awareness, I always say, is a superpower. Being aware. Just while we're on that as well, Shaun, how do you find you juggle? So this is something I ask a lot of high performers. When you've got all this going on, you've got your three facets of your work life going on in the charity, the college, and the performance. You've got your own health and well-being, your fitness, your runs, your family time. Do you struggle to juggle with it?
At times it comes to sort of, there are peak times where it can become really, really challenging. How I cope with it is I've got the most amazing wife who's really, really understanding, but better than that, because I think you get understanding people who then just let you do your thing. She's understanding but also challenging. So she might say to me, I don't think it's right for you to keep doing that. You're gonna
Mm,
make yourself ill or something like that. So she's amazing, absolutely amazing for that. And she keeps me right. I've but I also have a few little ways in which I sort of become efficient with my time as well. Try and get as much as I possibly can. So I talk about this. I've talked about this with the real high performers. I know when I can go intense, and I mean, people think they go intense. They do, and then I still see them scrolling and doing their things, and I know I can, at times, shut the door, put the phone away, and go at it for an hour and probably do what other people would do in a day in an hour. So that helps me.
mm,
So I know where I can go to and I need to do it. So that frees up time occasionally. And then I try and be as efficient with. So when I'm in that moment, can I do what I can do in there? So if I'm in a meeting, for example, can I get everything done that I need to do in the time allocated, or even better, in less than that, and get out of there?
mm.
So I try and be as efficient when times can. I have a couple of other little things as well. So when I get those peak moments, it's never going to be like that again. I tell myself. So we talked earlier on about the ball. I got myself so last year the first one. Got myself because I'm the comp. I should have said I'm the compere and the host for the evening. 300 people there, and it's quite a big affair. I got myself so stressed by it last year. I promised myself I wasn't going to get there this year.
Mm.
So I just do little things to make it different. So it's back to that mantra. The non-negotiable. Always learn. Finish it and go. What could I do differently next time? So there's quite a few things like that. Then I'd probably say, just as a little hint and tip for your listeners, use the tools around you. Like,
Mm.
my mobile phone is amazing for me, absolutely amazing. My walk to work, another habit stack, a voice note to people I need to do. I can make I do my charity work often on the half an hour walk to work and half an hour walk home. I make my calls at that time. I've done an hour's worth of work. What would I normally do? Listen to some music. Brilliant. But I've just saved myself a load of time
Yep.
and a load of stress. So a long way around it, Mark. But I've got like all of these little things. But it really comes down to really understanding the people around you and an attitude that we can either go intense or we can be efficient with our time.
No, love it, love
It
it.
really helps.
Some great takeaways there. I think if people are being honest with themselves, the vast majority of people nowadays are spending those half an hours either side scrolling through social media or doing something that's got absolutely no bearing on their life. So some fantastic takeaways there that we can instantly drop into our routines. And then the last one, Shaun, is choose three people to sit down to dinner with, dead or alive, past or present, these three people in an aid to make your life going forward as successful as possible. Who would you choose to sit down with?
When you sent the questions through as prompts, this was the one I struggled with most. Really struggled with most. Not because there's a vast array of people. It was more, I don't know, I feel like you're always learning from people, aren't you? So you and
Mm,
I have had several brief sort of experiences together, and I've picked bits up, as we go along. So I'm constantly picking. things up. So I really, really sort of struggled with this. But I got down to three. I got Malcolm Gladwell. I don't know if you've come across him, the author.
Yes.
I've read every one of his books, and he's not specifically, say, a self-help or a personal development book or anything like that. But when you read his books, they're a collection of lots of experiences. And I think, so meeting with him, you're not just getting his experiences, you're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other experiences because his books are bringing together all of those. So that's quite, I was thinking there,
Yeah.
like wish number one is wish for more wishes, So I thought if we get Malcolm Gladwell, I'm learning lots there. So I think I would love that. I don't know if you've come across him, but he's passed away, but an absolute legend of in my eyes, of the personal development game is John Wooden. So John Wooden is a
Okay.
legendary basketball coach.
Right.
If you don't know Mark and any of your listeners, just go on YouTube, John Wooden. There's many, many things, but there's brilliant interviews with him there. He just talks sense. He just really, really talks sense. If you looked on my Instagram, you'll see that there's a reel there about what he talks about success being, and I just love it. I absolutely love
Yeah.
it.
I'll check that out.
And yeah, go look at him. There's a brilliant interview he did. It's extended with Tony Robbins, who potentially would have been another one on that table with me. It's about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. It's just gold dust. Go and listen to that. I think to listen to this guy who would be maybe 110 or something now, maybe what could you learn from him?
Mm.
That would be absolutely amazing. So Malcolm Gladwell, John Wooden, and I'm going to sound really, really corny when I do the last one, but my wife, because I'd love, if I'm getting those experiences, I'd love her to be with me. But also, you said to live a successful life. Well, happy wife, happy life, isn't it? So if she's coming
Nice.
along and we're having a
Nice.
nice meal and we're doing those things,
Yeah.
but so the corniness aside, is she's always been the one that has sort of steered me in the right path. Remember, I said she put the application into university for me. She also applied to the college for me. I didn't know, she was just, you need to believe in yourself and do more. And she's always the one sort of pushing me up in front of other things. So, bye. It's a lovely table, that, isn't it? I'm Gladwell, John
Yeah.
Wooden, and the wife.
No,
So
love it.
I think it'll be,
Love it.
yeah. So I think that's probably where I've settled on after much, much debate with myself.
No, love it, mate. Love it. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Smashed it. And
Thank
that
you.
is about a wrap. Thank you so much, honestly, for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it. I'm a big fan after the few brief interactions we've had. I know you're very highly regarded, as I talked about earlier on, amongst some very high performers. So I'm looking forward to what comes in the future from yourself. I'll certainly be staying close. Just
Thank
before
you.
we wrap it up, Shaun, do you want to just tell the listeners where we can find you?
Yes, my whole performance works probably best on Instagram. I do a lot of that there. It's Hope Performance was taken, so it's just called Hope Perform. So you can find me on there. Professionally, I'm across Twitter at Shaun Hope, LinkedIn. You'll find me across there as well. So yeah, hook up on one of those. See what I do. Give me feedback. I love a bit of feedback, and then obviously through this lovely podcast as well. So thank you very much, Mark. I get a bit nervy doing things like this, believe it or not. So, but I really, really appreciate it. It's given me a chance to challenge myself, come out of my comfort zone. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you. And to the listeners listening, if you're ready to level up, get in touch with this guy. He is the man. Shaun,
Thank you very
thanks
much,
a lot,
mate.
mate. Cheers.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.